Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of the video Vantage. I am Haley, I'm the growth marketing manager at Biteable, and I'm joined by my co-host Mike.
Hey everybody.
Today we're going to talk about AI. It's a very hot topic right now. We figured we'd talk about how we're using it both in Biteable as a product and on the marketing team here at Biteable, and then we'll go over some different ways to prompt ChatGPT and what we think is coming up next for AI. So Mike, let's jump right into it. What are your favorite ways to use AI both in work and your personal life if you use it personally?
Yeah, so for work, we just disclaimer, we don't have like this massive team of marketers here at Biteable. We're a pretty nimble team. And so I think one of the ways we have found AI to be useful for us is to help us create new blog articles and new content. We don't just type in a prompt into AI, into ChatGPT or Bard, and then just copy and paste. We don't do that. I think we would, if you are doing that, I think you'll quickly dilute your reputation and your website with just a bunch of like content that may sound authoritative, but it may not actually be true, because
Totally.
these AI bots are like authoritatively wrong sometimes.
They're very confident with their incorrect answers.
Right. And so, and I don't think it will ever, well, I shouldn't say ever, but I don't see it in the near future like replacing anybody fully. Right. And so I think it gives us, a good, head start, a good leg up on things, right? And gives you something to react and respond to. So oftentimes we'll start a blog article by like, hey, giving it a prompt about a topic, and then we have a wonderful, fantastic, very talented copywriter, Leah, who will go through it, make the corrections, clean it up, make sure it's on tone or on brand, the tone is on brand, and those types of things. And so that's just a good way for us to do it. I also like to use it for helping write meta descriptions for SEO. We've used it in the past to help us give us ideas for headlines for ads and those types of things. And so I think it can be a great way to get a lot of ideas quickly to respond to and then tweak and adjust.
Yes. Yeah. I find it the same way. It's very good for inspiration and kind of giving you that initial starting point. It's kind of like when you're writing an essay and you're just like staring at the blank page and the first line is so hard to write. So that's what I kind of use it for as well. Like you said, we're a pretty small marketing team. So on social, we used to have a copywriter kind of dedicated to writing our YouTube descriptions at one point, which is quite the luxury. And we don't have that anymore. So I kind of rely on ChatGPT. I'll give it a prompt. Here's what the video's about. Here's the blog article I referenced for my information for the script. And then ChatGPT will write a script for me and a YouTube description, which saves me a ton of time. And then, like you said, of course, going in after editing it, make sure it's not saying anything strange. Sometimes it can be a little bit formal too. So I like to remove bits and pieces, but it's a nice way to kind of get that information out quickly and saves a lot of time editing, because it's, I'd say, about 65 to 70% good information, and then the rest is kind of up to us to provide. I've also seen a lot of people using it on TikTok. Those kind of sketches and comedy skits are really starting to become popular on TikTok to grow your audience. So people have actually started turning to ChatGPT to give them an idea for a skit and then say, like, write a script for this comedy skit for me. And some of them are actually pretty funny. And I mean, you can, of course, tell it to be funny or be mysterious and kind of give it that tone. But yeah, a lot of people getting pretty creative with it. It's cool to see.
That's awesome. I've used it a couple times personally for, so I have a friend that I'm helping out with a website, and I know just enough to be dangerous, right? And so I'm helping him out, and I got stuck on this CSS problem. I could not figure it out.
Yeah.
And so like I just copied the CSS code, put it into ChatGPT, and I said, this is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Here's my code. Tell me what's wrong if you can. It gave me new code. It explained it to me.
Wow.
I copied it, put it back into the CSS file, saved it, rendered it, and it worked perfectly.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, wow, like this is going to really help a lot of people out leveling people's skills up,
Totally.
teaching them. Again, it's not going to it couldn't come up with the design for me necessarily. I'm sure it will at some point. And other people I've seen, there's a couple YouTube videos that are like, this ChatGPT designed and coded my whole website.
Yeah.
And it's like, those are a little misleading titles, right? But I think it can really help people out, right?
Totally.
So
It's pretty cool that it also described to you what was wrong with the previous code. Because, I mean, it's kind of like that saying, give a man to fish, he can eat dinner. Teach a man to fish, and he can eat forever. It kind of
exactly
gave you dinner and gave you food forever.
It did. It really did. It was really helpful. So I think it's interesting. But I think, kind of maybe just shifting gears a little bit to the topic we were talking about earlier, was you have to be good about how you prompt it.
Yes.
Because with a lot of these tools, I have, not just ChatGPT, but there's like a whole bunch of other AI tools that you can subscribe to and that are like more niche.
Yes.
But initially I was like, hey, give me this, right? I want an article about topic, right? Or write the CSS code for something, right?
Yep.
And you'd get back garbage. And it's the whole garbage in, garbage out is so true with this. And I think
totally.
I was just reading an article this morning about the next skill that employers might be looking for is like, how good are you at prompting, ChatGPT or prompting AI?
That's crazy. Wow. Okay, so on that topic, tell us about how you prompt ChatGPT for our blog posts, and what do you think goes into a good prompt?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. Like, you've seen some of my prompts,
Yes.
right? And I talk to ChatGPT and Bard like I'm talking to a person, right? Like I'm trying to, and so I'm really nice to it. I'm like, please give me this, or I'm looking for something like this. Can you help me with it, right? And then, so I try to be very polite to it. That's just a me thing, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if it actually impacts the difference of the quality of the content. But beyond that, what I will try to do, there's maybe 5 or 6 things I really try to focus on every time. So one of them is try to be specific. So I try to give it as much information about what I want it to give me as I can, within a sentence.
Sure.
Right? And then I'll also give it, the second thing I'll do is I'll give it context, right? So, for example, if I was going to do something about video, right? If I just say, hey, help me describe how video can help, communication in the workplace. Oftentimes it assumes it's video calls like this.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh no, I want it to be more like a biteable type of video where it's like I'm recording something or I'm making a video to distribute. So I have to give it the context of I'm not talking about a video call with somebody, it's live. I'm talking about da 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 da. So that context I think is important.
Totally.
The other thing I found is helpful is if I just give it one question at a time.
Okay.
Because it can, at least with ChatGPT, it has the context of what you just have done previously.
Yep.
So you can say hey, a follow-up question to that is this, right? And so limiting it to one question at a time, I've found it to be more precise. Back to the specificity thing on the very first one is just not being ambiguous. Try to be as clear as you possibly can, so that you kind of like that whole video call example, you don't give it the ability to interpret it the wrong way.
Right. Yeah.
And then I also will say things like, act like you are this type of a person, right?
I like
or
that.
pretend about this. And sometimes that pretend part, right? That's when you start to think it it really doesn't know what it's talking about. But sometimes it does. And then, for me, I try to be, use correct grammar and punctuation and whatnot. And then I tell it do I want a guide? Do I want 5 steps? Do I want 10 ideas? Do I want a summary? Do I want a long article? If I want a long article, give me 750 to 1,000 words on this topic.
Wow.
And then I also will say, and cite your sources if you refer to anything.
Oh, that's great. And it does that?
And usually what it will do is it will do couple things. After it gives you the information, it will put in parentheses like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
And then it won't necessarily give you those links. So then I'll be like, what were your sources for those items?
Okay.
As a follow-up question. And then it usually says, well, I'm just a language model. I don't know exactly, but you can search for these things. And it will, for number one, it'll say, look for this topic and you will find a source. So then I can go and double check my source. So going back to the, the thing we talked about at the beginning was like, don't just copy and paste it.
Yeah.
So I take those 4 things and I go and look them up and I'm like, okay, is this valid? Is this a source I trust?
Yeah.
That I would link out to, right? So my reputation doesn't get damaged. And so that the reader doesn't get bad information.
Totally.
Right? And does it jive with how I think about this topic?
Wow.
Or do I think it's legitimate or not? And so that's kind of how I use it. And I found that to be really helpful.
That's really cool. Even the fact that even though it can't hyperlink you directly to that source, the fact that it can kind of bring you through the steps to find where it got that information is impressive.
It's actually pretty amazing.
And we were joking earlier this week because, as Mike said, he really opens up a two-way street of dialogue between yourself and ChatGPT, and you're very kind and formal and you thank it and you use correct grammar. Whereas I, on the other hand, talk to ChatGPT as if it's Siri or Alexa, and I just kind of bark my commands at it and use no punctuation, not great grammar, and then just kind of throw some links. Mind you, the information that I'm asking it for is normally pretty straightforward, so I don't have to do a ton of like citations and things like that, but just a funny, different way of how we use things.
Yeah, and we were saying we should actually test like the same topic.
Totally.
But 2 different methods of asking for it.
Absolutely. I'd be really curious to see how different the answers are if they differ that much. Because even I've noticed sometimes the questions that I ask ChatGPT or the YouTube descriptions I write can be similar to one another. And I'll notice the responses that it spits out are pretty similar to something that I've seen before. So I have kind of like used it enough where I'm coming full circle. But yeah. I mean, it's as simple as saying like regenerate this response and it gives you something different. But yeah, it would be cool. We should test that. We'll do that soon.
When you use that regenerate response feature, how often is it better? Or is it the same or worse?
It's normally pretty similar. I'd say they kind of tweak the intro and then the rest of the core bits of information will stay the same. It's just kind of like something slightly different in the tone. I find what's more accurate and generates a better response is instead of just clicking regenerate response, I'll type into the box like try again but make it funnier, or try again but use this tone, and that's when I see a real difference in what it says to me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So now let's go kind of quickly into the future of AI. Obviously, Biteable is kind of dipping our toes into the AI water. Yep. We have Ava, which is our automated video assistant, where specifically for explainer videos at the moment, you can type in your business name and your product description, and we will generate a 45-second to 60-second long explainer video in just really a few clicks on the user's end. And we're kind of seeing a few other companies start to try the whole AI video generation. Nobody's really mastered it yet because it's still so new, but we're seeing a lot of people give it a try.
Yeah.
What do you think will come next in the world of AI? What other advancements? We obviously don't have a crystal ball, but what would you like to see?
Yeah, so I think, on for Biteable side, I think it's, we're doing some interesting stuff and we're doing a bunch of things, some things that people have seen who have Biteable where they can like try to like just type in like a couple of things to get their explainer video, which I think is great for people from this perspective of like, kind of like you were talking about earlier about like looking at a blank page can be very daunting when you're trying to write something.
Totally.
But reacting and responding to something that's been written and editing it or being inspired by that, I think is super helpful. And I think that's what our initial take on our Ava product is, or Ava feature, to be able to like, oh, great. I never would have thought of structuring my video this way. I'm going to tweak that word. I'm going to change this color. I'm going to swap out this image of this video. And that's a great thing, I think. And we'll keep iterating on that. And we've seen some really cool stuff internally that's going to be coming out publicly in a few weeks, maybe. But so that's exciting. But I think larger, what's happening is that you're seeing people kind of combine tools like ChatGPT
Yep.
and tools like Midjourney for static images.
Yes.
And then there are other tools that will actually create videos for you. But I think what's interesting is like when I've tried Midjourney, for example, I struggle to come up with a good prompt
Sure.
to give Midjourney. But what I've seen people do is they'll go into ChatGPT and they're like, I need a prompt for Midjourney. And I want to do this, and this.
Yeah.
And then ChatGPT gives you a better prompt.
Oh, wow.
And then you paste that into Midjourney and you're getting stuff back. That's
AI
way
inception.
better, right? And so I think you're going to start seeing more of that type of that combination. And
Totally.
I think you'll start seeing people use these tools kind of like historically creators have used tools like Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign and like Google Docs, Microsoft Word, right?
Yeah.
Disparate tools, but you use, so if you're going to create a book, right, a children's book, you would probably write the words in Google Docs or Microsoft Word, right?
Yeah.
Or something, or Notes app or something. You would do the illustrations in Illustrator.
Yeah.
And then you lay it out in InDesign, right? I think people will start using these AI tools like that. We're like, hey, I want to write a children's book. I need the script. I'll do it in ChatGPT. Now I need the images or I need the videos. And I think you'll start seeing a lot of that type of thing happen where in the past, if you had one of those skill sets, you would be limited and you'd have to find somebody.
For sure.
Now you can do a lot of it and get a long way on your own.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it'll definitely open the door for a lot of people to try, like you said, try those new things or like new little business ventures and even coding. Maybe they have a business and they don't have a website yet. And if ChatGPT can help you code, then it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, on that topic, I think, any amount of furthering your own education and your skill set, whatever level you are in your career, I think, or even just your personal hobby.
Yeah.
I think it's just super empowering and fascinating. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. We are just at the end of our time now, so we will call it a week. Mike, thanks for chatting as always,
Haley,
and thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Haley.
Bye.